Bottoms, are you going to be bottoms tomorrow? Because tomorrow we are live streaming the We're Having Gay Sex variety show. We take audience questions and stories. Last time we redid Maddie's Hinge. We do fun dating games with the audience, and we have special guests. This one is not to be mixed. We have a musical guest on this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go to ashleygavin.com to either go live in Brooklyn or live stream it tomorrow online and watch with a bunch of other WHGS fans and talk in the chat. It's a nice little community event, and we'll be leaving it up for a week, and it's a great way to support the pod. I love this show. You know, it's not something that I ever thought I would be making, but now that I'm making the games and stuff like that, it's really fun. And it's great to connect with all of the people in the showroom live and talk about their sex stories. It's a lot of fun. And then today, great episode, especially if you're a fan of the gender talk. We have fan favorite Jamie Rains back on the pod, solo this time without his girlfriend Shaba, but still an incredible episode. I guess this is really for Shaba. Come back, Shaba. We love you too. But Jamie's great. He just wrote a book, The T in LGBT, Everything You Need to Know About Being Trans. And we just get into an incredible gender conversation from his perspective as a trans guy, from Maddie's perspective as someone gender fluid or non-binary, and then, my perspective as cis, but sometimes I feel masculine, and exploring all those different things. And we really break format on this episode, which we've been doing a fair amount. Right in. Do you guys enjoy the twists and turns that we go on with all these different types of guests and trying to find the fun with each of them and their unique personalities? Let me know. I was just so excited to have Jamie back. And then my tour starts again in August, but I'm doing Sunday school this next week, and then we're going to have a special guest on Sunday school while I'm out of town. Yeah, so come through, ashleygavin.com to sign up for my text alert, get a text when I'm in your city, and patreon.com/WHGS. You can donate as little as $1. You get live streams of my show every week. You get bonus episodes, all kinds of great stuff, and it just takes $1 to support, so go check it out, patreon.com/WHGS. I'm rambling a little bit. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being the bottom that you are, even if you're a top bottom. I'm going to let that sit. Have a good week, guys.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. Thank you guys for coming. Give it up for yourselves. It's a very live, very chaotic show, and it's very interactive. Are you guys ready to commence the straight booing?
We are doing a live variety show version of We're Having Gay Sex. We're also live streaming it unfiltered.
I think it would be fun to give Ashley a femme makeover on stage.
What? Maddie is a gay virgin. We are going to take a look at their Hinge profile. Oh shit, you can see her nipples.
This is the coolest day of 8th grade ever! Oh my god! Get Jonathan B in here, dude!
It's not a normal episode of the podcast. We're playing games, we're doing stand-up, we're gonna bring you up on stage, some live, uncut action.
Tell me that this isn't just the absolute portrait of Hey Mama's lesbian.
Yes!
Ask her, you went to girl camp, did you prefer the top bunk or the bottom?
We're doing the mask dater. Maddie's gonna pick two femmes in a mask from the audience.
I'm what you would call an enigma.
Enigma?
What, are you not into that word or something?
No, okay. I'm hoping you're a mean femme. That's kind of what I'm into. Come on! The biggest queer arm wrestling event in history! 3, 2, 1,
We're Having Gay Sex live. We're coming up on Wednesday, July 18th. Head on over to ashleygavin.com or we'rehavingaysex.com and get tickets. Oh, little bottom, this episode is brought to you by Helix. Helix mattresses, the best in the game. I love my Helix mattress. It's the best sleep I've ever gotten. I've been sleeping on it a few years now, and I can tell you my quality of sleep is off the charts thanks to Helix. And Helix knows what they're doing. You take a customized quiz, and you get matched with the perfect mattress for you. And if you don't like it, I know you will like it, but on the very off chance that you don't like it, don't stress, because there's a 100-night trial, and if you don't like it, you can send it right on back. And right now, Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows just for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/gaysex. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Listener, this episode is brought to you by Babbel, the second best way to learn a language. Well, we all know the best way to learn a language is through immersion, living where the language is spoken natively and using it every day. But that's not possible for everyone. So what's the second best way to learn a language? Babbel, because with Babbel, you can start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. Isn't that crazy? Instead of paying hundreds of dollars for a private tutor or taking a bunch of courses, Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are designed by over 150 language experts to help you start speaking a language in as little as 3 weeks. I've been using Babbel. I was terrible at language in school, but what I love about Babbel is it gets straight to the conversation topics that I need. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and your accent. And I love doing that at home because when I was practicing my accent at school, I was so embarrassed in Spanish class. With over 10 million subscriptions sold, Babbel is real language learning for real conversations. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners to get you started right now. Get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/WHGS. That's 55% off at babbel.com/WHGS. That's spelled BABBEL.com/WHGS. Rules and restrictions may apply.
My journey with gender was just like cut and dry. Sexuality was like, ugh, what the fuck is this? I came out as bisexual when I was 14. When I started like college, everybody was like, oh, you're so like masculine. You must be a lesbian. And I was like, sure. And then I figured out I was trans and I identified as like straight guy for a while. And I was like, no, I am actually bisexual. But I have only had one relationship since I came out as trans. I've only been with Shaba.
I'm glad you're asking this because I know from Jamie that he sucks mean dick.
Yes, but we don't tell Shaba this.
I didn't know that this day would ever come, Jamie, but now you're here. You're back on the pod.
Oh my God, it's happening again.
How have you been?
Yeah, good. How have you been?
I'm all right. Can't complain. I can't remember the last time. Oh, I can remember the last time we recorded. That was like October 2021.
Who's
my
hosting?
life? Yeah, it was. My life is so different. It's so crazy.
Was that Guerrero? Was that Kate?
It was Kate, but Kate was like, it was relatively new. This is Maddie.
Oh.
Maddie's co-hosting today.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Good, how are you? Great to meet you.
Jamie
Nice
just
to
had
meet
a book come out, which I'm assuming you're doing like 10 million pods right now.
This is my second. I have another thing tomorrow. I don't do stuff like this, so I'm stressed. I'm like,
Oh, don't stress. This is bullshit.
Oh no, I'm very happy to be here because like we've chatted before. I'm comfortable with this. Everything else, I'm like.
But podcasting generally stresses you out?
Like interviews in general. I'm doing stuff on my own.
Just being alone in the
you've
world.
You've noticed that like I'm
No
by
Shaba,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does she usually accompany you to like, because you vlog on your own, you make YouTube content on your own.
Yeah, I make the videos on my own, but like anything that we do is pretty much together. We go to all events together. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if you want to bring her in at any time, I'm happy to have her.
That's okay. She's like, you do this one. not because of you, just because she's busy.
No, certainly because of me. She's like, I can't go on there and try and dance around the dildos that we keep under our bed. She
can't bear another roasting. She's like, I can't do it again. It's too much.
But that was more of a compliment session, to be perfectly honest. Shaba is Jamie's wife and truly one of the most lovely people I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Just an absolute gem of a human being. They're both content creators, but they also have like PhDs. She's got a PhD. You have a PhD too?
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
holy shit, and what?
Mine's in psychology, into the development of trans people and well-being.
That's so cool.
And how is it going? The well-being and the trans people.
Well, I think it was better when I was doing my PhD compared to now.
I know, isn't it so crazy how like, I mean, it just feels like a literally a year. The people who were gonna be homophobic and transphobic just were like, oh, I'm gonna talk about it now, as opposed to everyone else that had sort of just like kind of moved on. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
You probably know a ton more about this than I do.
No, it's awful. It's like suddenly people who have those views in private feel like they've been given permission to share them, protest for them, and like actually fight against trans rights very publicly rather than just sitting at home going, I don't accept trans people. That bit was fine. We can't change people's opinions. But like leave the rights alone.
You go and be transphobic at home. You do it on your own time. Just don't rub it in my face.
You're like, look, we're not on vibe control, okay?
Yeah, we're not on vibe control. I love that. Is that a thing the kids are saying?
No, I don't know. Just this kid, just me.
Well, I guess we're getting into the episode at this point, but super conversational, and talk about your book as much as you want, and we'll definitely give it a big fat plug throughout the episode. And God damn it, I am gonna come up with a fucking topic. I swear to fucking God. But is it very different in the UK, or is there something similar going on?
It's kind of similar, but I guess like the politics and everything are different. So we don't have like the massive amount of like anti-trans bills coming out and stuff, but the transphobia is very loud. Like there's a lot of like anti-trans protests and things going on and people showing up. There's a few very loud people, and there are like, so in the UK, trans people are protected under the Equality Act. So it means that like I can use the men's bathroom and stuff. And essentially there are some people trying to remove those rights.
Do you happen to know what the exact language of that is?
The Equality Act.
Yeah, I know I'm really putting you on the spot, but look, because like I know we don't have a ton of language in the Constitution that protects people based on like sex, gender, yada yada.
I will say there is something really funny to me about British people being like, that's not how God intended, and then eating like beans for breakfast. I'm like, nothing about British culture is how God intended. What are you talking about?
You guys are very sunburnt and eating beans for breakfast.
I would come back with some kind of defense, but I don't have one. So.
Beans, thank you for jumping in with something. We needed something funny. I started asking Jamie to quote the British, I don't even fucking know, whatever your legal documents are for your country.
Also, like J.K. Rowling being like, oh, it's women's spaces. I'm like, well, India was an Indian space before you got to it. Like, are we going to talk about, you know what I mean? I don't think Britain has any room for fucking transphobia.
But you know what's also interesting? Just the act of protesting. Look, I know it's a sizable population, but in the grand scheme of things, there's like 4 trans people. Like relative to the population, there's like really only a handful of trans people protesting something so niche. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's how I feel about anti-Semitism too. I'm like, yes. I'm like, if you came to my synagogue in North Carolina, you would not think that we are a threat to the American, like, there's 5 of us.
Yeah, exactly. And, and most people at the synagogue are 89.
Yeah.
We're not making mass destruction moves here. We could not hit a target. First of all, we're Jewish. Second of all, we're old. Jews are old by the time they're 4. Like we're not nimble. Sorry, Jamie's like, I can't jump in on this one, unfortunately. Go back to the trans stuff, please.
I will sit here respectfully, quietly.
You don't want to throw in a sick Jew riff?
I'm good.
Well, thank you for being here. You were one of our most requested guests ever. Well, we're in the apartment. We're having gay sex. We're having gay sex with Jamie Rains, huge YouTuber and now author, PH.D, certified expert. He knows everything. I forgot to plug in the soundboard, but we'll just clap.
Woo! Soundboard.
Thanks for being here. What's your book called so that everyone can go and find it?
My book is called The T in LGBT.
Awesome. And it's the tagline is everything you need to know about being trans.
Yeah, it's pretty much there. It's pretty much all in there.
I gotta say, Jamie, that is a brave subtitle for a book.
Yes, I did. I did not think it through how it would come across to other people. I was like, it sounds good. Yeah.
No, me as a cis person, I'm just like, yes. Absolutely.
I think that's like the idea. It's meant to be like everything you might need to know. Like there is obviously more stuff, but like maybe that's the stuff that just individual trans people need to know about themselves. kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So, and a lot of people, they come into this podcast questioning in a lot of ways. So this might be a good book for you to pick up and just, if you've got that question swirling around in your head about what your gender.
Don't look
not
at me.
to anyone in particular. not that there's any Jews on the couch where maybe you're a Jew from North Carolina and you're also a comedian, and maybe you're thinking about things a little more deeply these days in terms of maybe you have like an entire blog online, a Substack dedicated to it. Mm-hmm. So this might
isn't
be a good
specific at all.
No,
you could
not
be talking
even
about anyone.
Could
That
be
could be
anybody.
anyone.
Well, thanks for being here. I'm Ashley Gavin, cis gay white woman, she her pronouns. I don't know, guys. I'm just keep coming to see me on tour. It's been really fun. And then, as always, the hall monitor to keep me from getting canceled. Don't bring that rabbit in for show and tell. We don't want to see it. It's not doing well. I don't know. Give it up for Maddie Wiener.
Hello, I'm Maddie Wiener. She, they pronouns. We're figuring out the gender stuff, but let's just say I got that dog in me. And, so dumb. But I'm a comic. Oh, when this is coming out, I have a set on Don't Tell Comedy. If you just go on YouTube and search Maddie Wiener, Don't Tell, if you want to watch that, that would be fucking awesome. I just want people to see it. I'm really proud of it.
Watch it all the way through. Like, comment, share it with your friends.
Please share it with a friend.
A couple things that you can do to help a non-binary / gender fluid comedian's
Let's
set
milk
go
it.
viral.
You'd think I was a woman the way I'm fucking milking all this gender shit.
Women.
Because they milk because of my tits.
Yes.
Because we're like cows. But I have that set out, and I'm very proud of it, so please go watch it.
And then, Jamie, do you mind introducing yourself to people who may not know you?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jamie, trans man, he, him pronouns. I make videos on the internet breaking down transphobia. Yay.
And also a book. You made a book.
And I made a book.
And we're going to say it one more time. The T in LGBT, everything that you need to know about being trans. I'm
Made
actually,
a book sounds like you did like a bookbinding class. You
Yeah,
wrote
yeah,
a book.
I wrote a book.
Many of our listeners, especially the trans ones, have made books.
Where it's a lot of witchcraft and bookbinding
like a
and
spell book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to clarify.
We do have to clarify. And can you go through the structure of the book a little bit while I'm trying to figure out what story I'm going to tell today, Jamie?
Sure, I will be your stalling tactic. So the book, it's like part memoir. So it's got like my personal experience with like different aspects of being trans and transitioning. It's also like factual information about different things like coming out tips, like how to bind, changes on hormones, things like that. And then it's got a bunch of contributions from loads of other trans people, like trans women, trans men, non-binary people.
Oh, so smart. That's so smart, Jamie.
So that's why it's like everything you need to know, because it's taking you from like, so you think you might be trans to like, does transitioning ever end? It's meant to be like the start to finish. You can dip in wherever you want to, at whatever point you might need help.
Oh, I
with.
love
That's
that.
so cool.
Do you think transitioning ever ends?
Not for everybody. I think it's a very subjective thing. Like for me, yes. When I got my new birth certificate, I was like, I'm still trans. I'm always going to be trans. But like my transition and the active part of that for me is done. But some people feel like they're transitioning their whole lives, and it's just, yeah, it's up to the individual.
Listener, are you listening to our Patreon exclusive You're Having Gay Sex? Well, here's a sneak peek of what you missed last week.
Basically, she dry humped me so rough that she actually fractured my spine.
Oh! What? Excuse me?
So now I'm injured and without the person I thought was the one.
What the fuck?
That's it.
Finish that one off.
There are 4 bonus episodes a month of this series, You're Having Gay Sex, on our Patreon at the $10 tier, and then 2 at the $5 tier. Patreon.com/WHGS. I really love that because, like, I feel like there's so much. Well, actually, I I'm not going to say who it's about, not because I think they did anything wrong, but only because I don't want to get into like the drama of it all.
Okay.
There's like a big face of trans people right now, and I'm pretty sure anyone with half a brain could figure out who I'm talking about. But I heard that there was within the trans community a lot of like pushback against this person for basically documenting their entire transitioning process from day one in a very public way. And I, as a cis person, I'm like, I fucking love that I got to see all these different pieces of it, because there's so much emphasis based on these like perfect transition results where you like have the photo of day one and then you have the photo of day 987 and you're like, okay, well, what about, that's like a lot of days in between.
Yeah, and I'll say as someone, I don't know exactly what the situation is that you're talking about, so this is not my like take on that discourse, but like in general with like, I know like as a kid, it was really helpful for me to see people who were like non-binary or maybe at the beginning of a transition, because I think I only really knew about like binary trans people, and I was like, well, that's not me, so I must just be there must be nothing going on. And it's like, no, it was helpful for me to learn that there was a gray area, but I also have heard that it's like I'm trying to be really careful about how I talk about myself, because I don't want to put myself at the front of like you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to step on the toes of like binary trans people who are like going through like medical transition and being like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to muddy that for other people, because it's like, for all intents and purposes, I can leave my house and people just assume I'm a cis woman. So it's like, do you know what I mean?
We
There's like
should
so much
talk
privilege
about
in
this
that.
like today. This is
Okay.
actually the perfect episode to talk about. Like,
It's something I've been thinking about so much.
Because so many people feel this way.
And I'm trying to be responsible about it, because I'm like actively figuring stuff out. And I'm like, what if in a year I'm like, oh shit, I was a tomboy and I fucked up. And you know what I mean? I'm just trying to like, because it's also weird when you're doing it publicly on
Yes,
a podcast.
yes,
And so I'm
yes.
trying to really be responsible about like letting myself explore all these like possible parts of myself, and also like just being like responsible and ethical about how I talk about that.
Sure.
Jamie, we just said a lot of things.
You did. Yeah.
And you're a person who like, I know this is gonna sound crazy what I'm about to say. You're pretty fucking trans, bro. Like you really did all the things.
Yeah. I did all the things, and I posted about doing all of the things. Yeah.
So I guess there were two things baked into that. I guess the first one is, should Maddie feel bad about themselves?
Okay, I also want to say,
No.
I hope it's
Never.
okay that came up organically in conversation, but I don't mean to put you on the spot of like, well, and now can you give me an answer? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that to be some
Jamie,
weird like.
part of the agreement which you signed is that you do emotional labor when you come onto the podcast. So
Sure.
yeah, so I'm gonna need you to do that. Actually,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm here. If I signed up for it, then I will fulfill that commitment.
Totally joking. I'm like not trying to be on
I'm
the
not
spot.
joking at all, Jamie. I'm 100% serious.
I think you don't have to feel bad for anything or responsibility over. Like, it's your identity. You have your own struggles, your own feelings, your own things you're going through. You don't have to compare and be like, what if people have it harder because of this reason or that reason? Like, you are free to explore who you are and not feel guilty about the struggles that you feel related to that. And it must be really difficult to experience like exploring your identity whilst already having a public profile. Because I didn't have that. I just came out as trans and then I started posting videos, and that was it. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, how do you think, if in any way, like the public aspect of it, like, do you feel like you had a different experience than you would have had if it was something you just that was like a closed off, like personal friends and family thing? I phrase that so poorly, but do you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like the public nature of like you like the education and stuff that you do has like influenced your identity at all, or like helped you learn more about it through doing that?
I think it's made me be a lot more like political about it and know a lot more about the kind of like right side of things. And being visible has made me feel a level of responsibility with it, but it's not impacted like within myself how I feel about me. It's just kind of like made me more active within the community, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, I'm sure. Because I know that I feel like so often I'm like, God, I don't have the answers to these questions. And then I just remind people that I haven't done what you've done, which is the right thing. you've like gone and educated yourselves and written yourself and wrote a fucking book about it. What I do is I go, oh, it's a comedy podcast. Don't take anything I say seriously. I spat maybe all over you. Did I spit on you?
No, I don't
okay.
think so.
But also I think, Maddie, what you're doing is at what non-binary folks and like more gender fluid folks are actually doing is really quite helpful. Through that deconstruction of gender, what you're actually doing for trans folks is like more binary trans folks is you're saying that these like idyllic endpoints of what we understand gender to be are not totally real. So it makes the transition way more about how you're feeling than like what you actually end up looking like. I don't know. I'm definitely speaking on behalf of like a book community I don't represent, but like I think the general breaking down of the gender binary only helps. It helps everybody.
Well, I think that's true. It's like it's none of this is mutually exclusive. Like everybody's like liberation and self-discovery helps everybody else. Like it's all a positive feedback cycle, I think.
Yeah. No, I would say for sure. And I think just visibility, like having people and showing that like, yeah, like trans doesn't just mean somebody who very visibly like transitions and like takes hormones. It doesn't always involve this. It's like an umbrella that involves all these other identities that some people do and don't identify with the trans like label, but people who do it, it kind of like encompasses anybody who's going on a journey with their gender, whether you're non-binary, gender fluid, whether you want to or need to take any medical steps, you are included in this community. And I think any kind of representation and visibility is a fantastic thing.
Do you remember the first representation you saw, like as a kid or as a younger person, that kind of like hit you in the gut?
You
of
are
like,
killing.
Oh, I'm onto something.
You're killing this episode, and I don't know why I'm like surprised by this that you're coming in with all the really thoughtful questions, given that.
There are questions I ask myself every single day about myself because I'm deeply struggling with this.
And I'm so glad.
Because that's all I think about all the time.
I'm so glad because I'm over here like, what the fuck is my gay sex story? This.
But I am curious because there's something that come to mind to me, but I don't want to cut you off. I'm curious if you have like if there's something that comes strongly to mind.
I didn't know. I had no idea what trans even meant until I was 16. I'd never heard the word, but like I don't know if I was just sheltered or oblivious, because when I was 11, I had a whole classroom of school kids calling me the T-slur because of the way I dressed and presented. And I was like, I don't know what they're saying. I wasn't even offended by it at the time because I was like, I don't know what they're saying because I don't understand what this means and I didn't look into it.
Do you ever look back and you're like, wow, actually super validating, like, thank you?
I was like, oh my God, not bullies, geniuses. But yeah.
Just very perceptive friends who were trying to help me through a process.
Somebody commenting slurs on your Instagram, you're like, okay, criticism.
Exactly. And my first like knowledge of like trans, like that being a thing, was when I was 16 and I just was watching TV. I just put a documentary on and it was about a young trans guy in the UK and his experience with starting hormones and everything like that. And I was watching it like jaw on the floor, like, oh my God, because this explained the way he was talking and what he was doing. I was like, oh, I can do something? Like this way I've been feeling for as long as I can remember. This isn't just like something I have to hold inside and deal with and like just kind of have people perceive me in a way that feels deeply wrong to me. I can actually do something and live a life that I feel is right for me rather than suppressing myself. This is super deep. But it was like,
it's great.
That was my first like encounter of transness in another trans person. And like, I ended up going to the same gender clinic that this guy went to. And actually the same guy has contributed in my book as well. Like, and it was like such a full circle moment.
That's
and I was
so
like,
cool.
That's so sick.
So it was very cool. And then I got lost on Tumblr. After watching the documentary, I was like, Tumblr. And
Tumblr? Oh my God, wait, can I ask how old you are?
I'm 29.
Okay, I'm 24, and I'm like also Tumblr was like that. Growing up on the internet was such a like because you were able to Google like I remember for me it was like I remember Googling like trans guy but long hair, and I was like, that's it, dude. Like I was like Googling like trans guys but who then also were kind of like being girly again. Like it was like the layers of like an onion, dude. It's like, but then I found it and I was like, there was a while where I came out as like,
what was the Google search that revealed the result? Then I found it.
It was just like a picture of,
what was it?
It was
That's
just a
your
picture
gender,
of a
dude.
kind of femmy trans guy with long hair, and I was like, oh, you can just do whatever you want. Fuck yeah. Okay, yeah, like that. Because like, and I remember like I came out as like agender in middle school, which and like was using they them pronouns, which like I don't know that's the label I'd use anymore, but it was like, but those were all things that I found like on Tumblr and like kind of to what you were saying of the thing of like it was cool to realize that things about me that I thought were just failures at being a woman were actually me being good at being just whatever I am.
You are so good at whatever you are.
Thanks.
You
Whatever
are the
fuck
best
it is
little
you're
girl
doing.
boy. You are such a good little girl boy. That's what I should write exactly. That you in bed like good girl boy, good girl boy.
We can't be. Turn off the cameras.
Too much euphoria.
But there's like such a cool feeling of being well, this person got canceled, so maybe I shouldn't hold them up as a, but like queer people that I.
All right, just let that matzo ball hang out there, okay?
Can we cut that maybe? Because that's just messy.
No, I think that's great. We have no idea who that is.
But like.
Caitlyn Jenner.
No, yeah, that was. Okay, forget everything else. I'm not like a 60-year-old millionaire and I have nothing in common. But just the feeling of like, oh, this has been in me a long time and I just didn't even have the words to talk about it. And then you see it and you're like, oh, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not crazy, it's a thing.
No, it's like, it's a mad moment because I'm like, all this relief mixed with all this fear. Because it was like, okay, well, I understand like how I'm feeling a little bit better, but then what do I do with this information? And like nobody spoke about it. And that's why now, although yes, we have like loud transphobia, but it's only because we're getting to this point where it's being talked about. Kids are learning about it. They're realizing themselves out like at a younger age when I would have loved to have had that information and have known that about myself. And so like I see the loudness as kind of like a transient thing that is a pushback against this really good thing that's happening where we're just talking about it more.
That's what I'm hoping. And that's what I'm like kind of like trying to have some faith in, is that this is just like a part of the growing pains process.
Yeah.
Jen and I were actually talking about this, like with so much more freedom to express who you are. But when you have total freedom to do that, when you have a society that's like, yeah, like, you know, cut and dye your hair and get the septum ring. Like you can always easily to go back with, you know, like, you know what I mean? Or like try hooking up with girls or like whatever it might be. When you have actual exploration and experimentation going on in a very sincere way, and it's getting, the population is growing and more visible, of course there's going to be people who use the few cases of people who are like, oh, you know, I messed around and I'm actually feeling like I'm, you know, like a woman. Of course, you're going to have like people cherry picking that situation and using it against the rest of the community, even though it is like the most
just
rare.
0.1 of already 0.1%.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like so, it's such an obvious political, like it's so intentional.
But I'm hopeful that like that's actually a symptom of growth. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you hear even.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I need to hope it's a symptom of growth.
Yeah,
I'm like, if this isn't, then this is just dire. But yeah, I am hopeful.
It's very hard to know whether we're on the brink of like an incredible revolution or the end of the planet.
We don't go down that road. It's positive.
You hear like Mark Maron on his podcast be like, guys, girls, theys. I'm like, that's progress, dude.
Did he do that?
Oh yeah, he'll do that sometimes, and it makes me almost cry. I'm like, it makes me so like I can't describe a cross section of the world that I need more than
Mark
that.
Maron?
Is like old comedians who've been doing it since the 80s.
I thought you said Mark Normand, and I was like, that is
no, Mark Maron.
Progress. That's legit progress. Mark Maron.
Mark Maron.
Listener, it's summertime. Are you out there slutting around? Are lots of people getting into your mattress? Whether you're trying to hang on to a cutie or just trying to improve your sleep life, Helix will make sure that you have the best possible rest that you can get. I have been sleeping on my Helix mattress for a few years now. I absolutely love it. It's the best sleep that I've ever gotten. And the reason they're so good is because you can go over to helixsleep.com and take their 2-minute mattress quiz and get matched with the perfect mattress for you. Helix offers up to 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, that's what I'm sleeping on, and the newly released Helix Elite Collection, if you want to one-up me. They even have a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers and a mattress made just for kids. No matter what you need, Helix has something for you. They have models with memory foam layers to provide optimal pressure relief if you sleep on your side. And they have ones with more responsive foam to cradle your body if you sleep on your stomach. No matter what you got going on, Helix has you covered. Just go over and take their quiz and be matched with the perfect mattress for you. And don't stress about it, because all Helix mattresses come with a 10 or 15-year warranty, depending on the model, and you get 100 nights to try it. And if you don't like it, you will, but if you don't like it, you can send it right back. Plus, Helix has been awarded the #1 mattress picked by GQ and Wired magazine. So don't just take it from me. There are experts out there saying the same thing. And right now, Helix is offering up to 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/gaysex. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now.
Wait, can I ask a totally out of left field question? But kind of what we were talking about, like the moment of disgust. When you were saying there's like the excitement, but also the fear.
No. I'm actually totally happy to like just make
I'm
it
like
the Maddie and
this.
Jamie
hope-
podcast.
Also, let me know if I'm putting you on the spot so much, because I don't want to be like, we have a trans guest on, I'm asking you these questions, but you also literally have a PhD in trans.
I'm good.
So
Maddie's like, I'm actually getting paid for this and I don't have to pay you. So we're just going to like dive into this real deep.
I'm all good. I'm here for the questions.
Okay, cool. Because what you said about the excitement, but also the fear, it just made me think of like one of my biggest fears was like, I'm bisexual, but I've only ever dated men and I'm still very attracted to men. And I had this big thing of like, what the fuck does my gender changing mean for like my place in the male gaze or like men's attraction to me? Or like, I'm curious if you had how it coincided with your like sexual orientation, or if you felt any like, if that was any of the fear you were talking about.
I'm glad you're asking this, because I know from Jamie that he sucks mean dick, and I know how important that he was saying on the last episode that he just sucks mean dick. Just
Yes, but we don't tell Shaba this. My journey with my sexuality has been like, so my journey with gender was just like cut and dry. Like, yes, this is who I am. Sexuality was like, ugh, what the fuck is this? Like, I had no idea. I came out as bisexual when I was 14, before I even knew what trans meant. And then like everybody, when I started like college, which is like last 2 years of high school, everybody was like, oh, you're so like masculine. You must be a lesbian. You're a lesbian, right? And I was like, well, I am attracted to women. So sure, yeah, I'll identify as that. So I was like, okay. And then I figured out I was trans, and I identified as like straight guy for a while. And I was like, no, I am actually bisexual. Okay, cool. But my thing with that is like, I have only had one relationship since I came out as trans. I've only been with Shaba. Like she's it. It's been 12 years now. And
they're actually very like,
that's
so
cool.
adorable. They're a beautiful couple. Like they're like wonderful together.
That's so awesome.
It's gross. But yeah, so like I had a weird moment with my sexual orientation where I was like, how does this work with my like transness and like my relationship? And because we were so young when we got together, it's almost like both of us have mutually agreed that like we would never want to break up, but if we'd had the opportunity to have like a few years to explore before we got together, that would have been nice. But because we didn't, it's fine. I don't even know if I've answered your question. I just went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, I was curious about whatever that brought up for you, because like it's so interesting, and it's like not a thing that because like I feel a little more masculine when I'm like around, or like fantasies around women, and then sometimes I'll like have a crush on a guy and I'm like, I straight up just feel like a lady. And I'm like, fuck, I've reversed all the progress I've done. And I think that's like the gender fluid part of it. But
Almost
it's like
maybe this will be my I'm curious your take on this. This will maybe be my loose story for the day. But like, it's almost like when you're in bed, there's like a gender when you're in bed, and then there's like a gender for like the rest of your day.
Wait, that literally is it in the relationship I've had. I'm like, when we're hanging out outside, I'm like, we're two bros hanging out. I'm like, I'm wearing a giant t-shirt. We're like wrestling and making fun of each other. And then we get in bed and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I am a girl in bed, dude. I am a girl in bed.
Yeah. And
that is so fucking funny.
And it can be very confusing because while sexuality and gender are, I can't believe I'm doing like a theoretical Maddie like piece today. There's definitely been times throughout my life where it's like I sexually identify with like a more masculine position in the bedroom. And obviously that is not what your gender
gendered.
is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's so much, and sexuality and gender are two different things. And then,
but I understand the analogy you're making of the feeling of
yeah. It's this weird thing where it does not affect like the way I dress or the way I want to look or like my being called a woman, she, her pronoun, all of that. Like, you know, I feel like I almost come off as turfy how like how much I love being a woman because like we've like decided that's like a turfy thing. It's true. Like I don't talk about it a lot, but like I fucking love being a woman, dude.
I don't think that's turfy.
No, it's only turfy if you follow up with "I love being a woman," but trans women aren't women. Like,
right? Exactly.
Fine.
No, but I know trans women feel exactly how I'm feeling on their bed. I hope they feel that way every fucking day. I hope they go.
And
out
that's how I know maybe I'm not a woman because I don't feel like that. It's so funny. I was having a conversation with a friend where we were like, doesn't everyone feel non-binary? And they're like, no, it's just you. You're non-binary.
But like in the bedroom, when I was younger, it caused me to have some gender, I wouldn't say crisis, but thoughts. Like why do I want to be so dominant, feel so masculine and like, you know, like hear things that maybe were more associated with men in the bedroom. And like, you know, I don't like being called daddy. That's definitely one that I'm like, please don't ever do that again. That actually gives me a panic attack. But like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think, I don't know, have you found any of this? And you're like, well, this truly is just us being like, hey, is this normal?
I mean, yeah, it's normal, right? Like it's normal to feel however you feel. Like I think there's like the one thing like I can relate to it that is when I came out as trans, I was like, sex was just like a big uncomfortable topic. It was like, well, what am I even meant to do? Because I think it's like that one area that like there's so many expectations on it depending on your sexual orientation, your like how masculine or feminine you are, your like gender identity, like your like anatomy, everything. And I was like, I don't even know where to begin because I was still figuring out how to be comfortable with myself. That I was like, how can I be comfortable with anybody else? And I did feel a lot of pressure both in like that respect and then also just generally to be super masculine and be like, I have to be like the epitome of what's expected from like a man in these situations. And that just made me feel worse because like it would dictate like I need to dress in this way, I need to like make my voice as low as possible and like walk in a certain way. And then it just fed into like more dysphoria for me because I was like, I'm setting myself expectations in all parts of my life that I can't live up to because one, it's not me, and two, I don't have to. So it took like a lot of unlearning to be like, I can live my life and do things and present in the ways that I can and I feel comfortable. And that doesn't take away my gender. It was like separating like the expression of like masculinity, femininity from gender. I don't know if I'm even talking about things that are relevant to what you're talking about. It's just
no,
what
that's
it made me
fascinating.
think about.
I think these are like open discussion types of stuff, but
I also think that is relevant too because like I kind of bridging the gaps between what you guys were both saying, I think is like there's like I've struggled with figuring out what parts of me are, well, that's like what parts of me are masculine and what parts of me are like, well, I've just been told a woman can't be that way, but actually I could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, what part of it is just like, I could be a woman who's strong in this way, or is that a masculine feeling? Like the prescription of what a woman is so just false.
Yes.
That it's like, it's hard to tell what's just a normal human emotion under the umbrella of womanhood and what is a gender feeling towards a more masculine way. And it's a hard line to toe and parse apart
And
for
I
me
also,
personally.
it's interesting because as you were speaking, Jamie, I was like, I think that's something a lot of men go through. Like just like this toxic masculinity thing of like how to be in the bedroom.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. It's like this kind of ideal standard, and like at the end of the day, I need to accept it because like the biggest thing that I see online is people want to go at like trans people, me included, because of the type of lower surgery I had. It's all small dick jokes trying to offend you with like a small dick joke, and I'm just like, at one point I had to stop feeling shitty about it and just be like, yeah, okay. I don't care because like it's something I need to accept about myself that like I don't and never will live up to this ideal expectation, and because I'm trans, that will be used against me to like invalidate my gender. But it's not true, so I'm like, I'm not gonna get offended by it anymore most of the time. Yeah.
I have two thoughts on that. What you're describing with the small jokes, like using that to invalidate who you are, it just like, it's like that circular thing. It's like, have you heard Kendall Farrell's joke about gender?
Oh my God, with The Rock.
It's so good.
So fucking funny.
Kendall Farrell, he did my podcast a few weeks ago.
Follow him, he's so funny.
If you didn't watch that episode, you're like, because you saw like a cis guy and you're like, I don't watch those because that happens. Like, go watch it. It's so fucking funny. He has this joke where he's like, if you think that he's a gay man, somewhat effeminate, I guess. He's long hair. I don't know. I don't find him to be, but I guess he gets made fun of that for that. Because he talks about it. He's like, Dad, like, I know you don't think gender is a spectrum, but would you say you're like a really manly man? And he's like, of course I'm a manly man. And he's like, well, then you do think gender is a spectrum. If you look at me and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and you think we're the same amount of masculine, that's a gender, that's binary.
Yeah.
Like a man is a man and we are the same. But it's funny that using like a small dick joke. Do you see what I'm saying? Then what? All men with smaller dicks are more feminine than it's just like so insane.
A weird thing too, where it's almost like cis people don't have to perform their gender as much because they're held to a lower standard because they're seen as just, well, it's innate. You don't have to prove it to me.
Yeah.
And then trans people are almost put to that like, you have to, yeah.
No, that's such a good point. You do. As a trans person, you have to prove your gender. Absolutely. You have to prove that you are valid. And if you can't, and if people can nitpick at any little thing, then, oh no, suddenly not a real man. Obviously, like most people who are transphobic are just like, oh, well, you're not a real man purely based on the fact you're trans. But other people who try and like justify it, who don't want to seem transphobic, they're like, oh, well, it's because of this. And I get a lot of comments that are like, oh, you're so like feminine in the, like, I gesticulate a lot when I talk. I'm like, I'm not the most masculine guy. And I'm like, cool. And people are like, oh, you're so feminine. Why did you even transition? And I'm like, mate, that has nothing to do with it. Like, you are getting lines very blurred if you think I wouldn't transition just because.
Masculinity is so sad. You can't fucking wave your hand, dude.
And it's also like you wouldn't go to a cis guy and he like moves his hand for 1 second and you're like, are you sure you don't want to be a woman? Like, it's like, it does not go both ways.
Yeah. It does go that way in the sense of like cis men, they're called gay. So it's like where someone would try and validate me as a man, like gay is being used as a negative. And it's like, I don't know. I get that as well, but it's mostly the trans thing. And at this point, I'm like, okay, fine.
Well, of course it's a trans thing because they're biased. They already have a piece of information to use against you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they didn't know, they might just call you gay.
Oh yeah, that's what happens if people don't know I'm trans. I like.
Yeah, you're like, that's adorable.
I did this like TV show in the UK a few years back, and like they didn't reveal that I was trans for like the first 15 minutes. And the comments on Twitter, because obviously I tortured myself by looking at the live tweets about myself during this show.
Oh my.
And
while you were on the show, you were literally like
well, it wasn't live, it was pre-recorded. So it was like, whilst it was like airing. So I was like looking at these tweets and everybody was like, oh, Shabba babe, you gotta leave him. He's not telling you something. And like, he's so gay. Like, he's gonna come out. And then they revealed that I was trans, and all of the tweets suddenly were either transphobic, or there were nice ones, or they were like, oh, that explains his behavior. And I'm like, but I know loads of like straight cis dudes, bi cis dudes. I know loads of like cis dudes with women who are very similar to me, but people would love to fall back on the trans thing as an excuse for like anything they can pick up on about me.
I like the idea of gay. If someone calls a trans dude gay, that they're actually just like super passing. You know what I mean? Like if you so can't pick up on the trans thing that you call it the gay thing. I don't know.
No, I was going to say like, well, that when I saw all those tweets coming through, I was like, well, I don't find it offensive to be called gay. It doesn't bother me. Like, cool. But and so it was a bit of like a proper validation moment. I was like, great. Nobody, like, everyone just thinks I'm a cis dude. Nice. Thank you.
It's so funny. Like, you ever see like the like I'm sure this is a whole genre of like Twitter experience, but like a trans woman will post, you know, like something that's like trans pride, and people will comment like, you'll never be a man. And it's like, yeah, thank you.
The accidental allies, like, yeah.
Yeah. Horseshoe theory, transphobia.
That's
they actually come around and they're
funny. That's so funny. Oh my God. People are so fucking dumb, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Listener, 1 in 5 Americans have learned a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, check it off this summer with Babbel, because with Babbel, you start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. Now, if 1 in 5 Americans want to learn a new language, I would bet you that's a lot higher for you bottoms, because I know you guys are smart, you're ambitious, and you have a long-distance relationship going with a lesbian in another country. I know this about you. So this summer, start speaking a new language with Babbel. Why Babbel? Because it works. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. All of Babbel's tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching. That's what I absolutely love about it. I struggled in language class so much, but the way Babbel teaches, it makes it actually conversational. I can use the phrases that I learn immediately. They're for real-life scenarios. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove that Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. I believe it, because I've only been using Babbel for a couple weeks now, and I already feel like I'm doing a better job than I did in school. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners to get you started right now. Get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/WHGS. That's 55% off at babbel.com/WHGS. That's BABBEL.com/WHGS. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Well, I guess I have to, we've got a few minutes left, but I guess I have to ask if you, I've had a lot of, I was thinking, I'm just going to give a gay sex thought in this because I feel like I have to, but like, things in my relationship. So Jamie, the last time you were here, I was talking about catching up with my ex-girlfriend and getting lunch and how nervous I was because I loved her so much.
Yes, I remember.
Well, we are back together, and about 6 or 8 months after that lunch with her, we got back together, and we're gonna do the whole thing. We're gonna she's in the other room, so I feel Jenny, hi. We're doing it. So it all. I know you guys were like kind of. Shaba said, "Oh, I want to know what happened." But that's what happened.
I'm very happy for you. That's really cute.
and I was thinking, there's nothing funny about just good, consistent sex with the woman that I love. There's just really nothing. Every day is just like a beautiful day, and she like makes my world better and grounded.
Okay,
and
great. So happy for you.
You know, like everything is good. I will say,
I'm gonna get dick down for the sake of the pod, and
well, I was gonna say we're like trying to. We had a conversation just about like, you know, keeping it spicy. You want to keep it, not that it's not spicy. Like, it's great sex, and we always have great sex. But, like, you know, talking about the things that we want to, like, just keep making sure that they're, you know, like, stay really fun. And we've been talking about dirty talk, and I'm just going to give that preview. I sexted her while I was on the road.
Ooh.
You never sext someone you're with. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Long term?
Yeah.
Long term.
I was in a relationship for 2 years, and we would,
You'd
send something at work.
I think
You
that,
like come home and you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I think that's great. I if you're out there and you haven't sexted your partner in a while that you've been with for a long time, sext your partner.
It's hot.
It's such a, like, she texted me back. She was like, oh, we haven't done this in a minute. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, that's good. But anyway, did you have gay sex this week?
I did not have gay sex this week.
Shocker.
But I went to P-Town and I did a pride show and it was really, really fun. And it's so funny too because whenever
Was it mostly gay men at P-Town? Do you know about P-Town? I'm sure you do.
No.
Oh, P-Town, Provincetown is like a little kind of gay haven vacation spot in Massachusetts. And it's a beautiful little coastal New England town. And for whatever reason, it's the gayest place on earth.
It was so amazing.
And
You want to hear
what week was it? Was it just summertime?
I don't know. I know it was part of Pride Month, but I don't know what the specific like themed week was. But it was like a 500-person show, and it was like there was one straight person. It was like all queer people. It was really special. It was cool, and it was fun too because sometimes when I get
how'd the straight person get there?
Yeah, I don't know. They seemed really confused. But
did they just like? They were like, oh my God, I found this beautiful vacation town. I'm going to book an Airbnb. And then
I love
got
the
there.
ocean. Yeah, I really think it was, they fell off like a fishing wharf or something. But,
pirate.
But it was just funny because like sometimes when I get like imposter syndrome about like, oh, maybe I'm like not queer enough, or like, what if I'm like, my gender stuff is not, I don't know. I just get imposter syndrome about it sometimes intermittently. And then I did like 30 minutes of like, mostly queer material and like gender stuff, and it hit really hard with this audience, and I was like, okay, I'm not, you know what I mean? It was just like nice to feel like, okay, I have a place here and what I'm saying is resonating with other people, so it's like.
And when you say this audience, you mean gay men aged 40 to 70. Just to be clear.
Is that the demographic?
Oh yeah, unless it's lesbian week.
The audience was not super male heavy. It was actually pretty split. It was pretty
really
pretty diverse. Yeah. Gender wise, yeah.
And there were some pod listeners there, right?
Yeah. Some people, shout out to the people who came from the podcast. That was really fun. But yeah, it felt very it was just a good show too. I had a really fun set, and Sereni was on it. Jared Goldstein was on it. It was great. It was a great show. So I had a good weekend.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Thanks.
I always think it's so weird that you have any imposter. Not weird. I don't want to invalidate what you're feeling, but
no,
you should never feel that way.
Oh, thanks.
Like the gay community is, you're like chronically online, and so that's a huge part of. I'm messing around, but you know what I mean. Like, what is it supposed to? There was a period in time where like lesbians felt unseen in the queer community. You know what I mean? Like. It's like what, I don't know. I just feel like we're past it. Anyone who gives you a hard time is from Ohio and they don't know anything.
I feel incredibly.
No offense, Ohio. But you know what I mean? Like you're a bumpkin.
It's mostly internal stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll go deal with that off the air.
And you too can deal with it off the air by reading.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy your book, and it's probably gonna make me cry happy tears. I'm really excited.
And LGBT.
Thank you.
Everything you need to know about being trans by Jamie.
Yeah.
By Jamie Raines, and it's everything. And if you don't find the answer you're looking for in the book, actually you're wrong. Because Jamie got everything
Literally
in there.
Everything.
Oh no.
But if I can say sincerely too, like, thank you for the work that you're doing, because it, like, I don't know, I think about being a kid on the internet and how much like that would mean to me if I just like, there were so limited resources and what little we had meant so much. And
fuck you.
The fact there's more. No, genuinely, like, thank you. Because also I imagine you're putting self in the crosshairs of a lot of like, I don't know. I just imagine it's not easy work.
What Jamie did can easily be found on a Wikipedia page. And all we need to do is just get better background checks and mental health stuff, and everything will be solved. I'm messing around. Obviously,
I came here to get roasted, not complimented. I can't take a compliment. Thank you.
No, like what you're doing is like so important right now. And I really do hope that what we said earlier, some of this backlash is just growing pains. Horrible growing, like not to invalidate it. Super painful, but like I hope it is just a symptom that we're moving forward in a really important way. So thank you for what you do. And if you don't feel like buying a book, then come see me on tour. It will be less educational, probably more expensive. And
yeah, hey, if you're fucking illiterate, just come to a show and let Ashley call you a bottom. If you can't fucking read and you just want to come.
I realize a lot of people don't realize that I have a show every Sunday in New York. I've been getting a number of messages like, oh, you have a New York show? Yeah, every Sunday in New York, and then come see me on tour. Maddie's opening for me in some cities, and I don't know when this is coming out, but
whenever it is, my Don't Tell set is out, so please watch my Don't Tell
go
set
watch
on YouTube.
Maddie's
That's all I care about right now.
And follow Maddie to 30K.
Hey, thanks.
Wouldn't that be so cool if Maddie hit? Where are you at now?
21, I think, which is wild to me.
21K. Come on, guys. Help Maddie build out their foundation for their touring. Because that's, and then as always, patreon.com/WHGS. We could not do this on ads alone. There is an editor. There is a booker. All of this, there's tons of equipment. There's the rent every month. So go patreon.com/WHGS. You can pay as little as $1, and it makes it possible to platform important people doing important work. So if you don't give $1, you're actually transphobic. Buy the book, donate $1. Don't be transphobic, you piece of shit.
Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Jamie is a gem and just a really, really good person. We're lucky to have him back on the pod. Tomorrow, the live stream, the incredible live stream. Go log on, watch all our fun little games with our audience members. Maddie will be there. We have a special musical guest doing improv comedy with our audience members to their fun gay sex stories. It's going to be a lot of fun. AshleyGavin.com. Go get your tickets. You can watch it live and then up to 1 week. Patreon.com/WHGS to support the pod. No gay thought this week. As you can see, I'm crouched against a wall. I'm not in a great recording space right now, but I'll get back on that next week, and I'm just really grateful that you're here. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you, Bottoms.